G'day, we're back, and sorry for the long wait for the second edition of our Round Australia adventure in 2014. In this episode we'll be doing our third Make-A-Wish flight, just 30 nautical miles southwest of Sydney, at Weatherburn Airfield. We also catch up with Colleen and Errol Plimmer, who have a Lake Buccaneer seaplane. Our group now expands to 4 seaplanes travelling this great country. At Lake Conjola we have our first mishap. Stay tuned for all the drama. So make sure your seat is in the upright position and your tray table is stored, and hang on for this adventure. Just a quick recap. After a couple of Make-A-Wish flights from Caboolture, just north of Brisbane, we fly south along the coastline, overnighting at Evans Head. The next night we stay at Keith Clark's place. Absolutely spectacular at Smiths Lake. Then we're off to Rathmines, staying with Malcolm Burns, president of the Seaplane Pilots Association. How could we forget the fun that the boys had on his pumper bike? Our next destination was Weatherburn, just a short flight southwest of Sydney. We tracked via Romeo 405, which is an approved flight path over Sydney Harbour. It was just fantastic, flying past the Sydney Opera House and then 500 feet over the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Fantastic. Arriving at Weatherburn is where we start part 2 of this amazing adventure. Greeted by our friends Colleen and Errol Plimmer, who have a Lake Buccaneer, a 4-seat amphibian aircraft that will be joining us for the rest of the adventure. We now have 4 aircraft travelling this beautiful country. We stay in comfortable dormitory-style accommodation at Weatherburn and up early for a wonderful breakfast with Colleen and Errol.
And we're happy to join you, should I say.
Our next Make-A-Wish flight shows up, Aiden. And with a nervous wave goodbye, we're off.
There we go, touchdown. How cool is this?
Looks like we've got a future aerobatic pilot in the making. A quick happy snap with Hayden, and soon we're off to our next destination, Lake Conjola. Although the weather is perfect here leaving Weatherburn, the forecast is not looking good for the next couple of days.
Now we need to click on fly here. That brings all our...
We soon arrive at Lake Conjola. The local doctor, Brett Thompson, and his wife Barbara agree to look after us at their beautiful property right on the lake's edge.
Just be careful, it's quite glassy here, so do a glassy approach. Just bring it down nice and slow. Well, you might have a bit of trouble fitting on this ramp, it's a little bit narrow.
If you own a seaplane, this is the sort of property you want to have.
How good is this? Told you wouldn't want to miss it.
Colleen and Errol soon arrive, but their Lake Buccaneer is just a little bit too wide to fit up Brett's ramp. So it's decided to moor it just out the front of Brett's place. Brett is a doctor, but in his spare time he is building a Sea Ray similar to the aircraft that I am flying now.
Super nice. Just you think you're in Europe somewhere with a mountain lake.
Yeah. What a spectacular place. Brett is able to accommodate us in his guest house, where Colleen and Errol score the good room and the boys score the gym. So when we wake up in the morning we can do some exercises on the gym.
There's my bed, double bed I might add, very nice. Here's Andrew's bed over in the corner. He's got his nice little air mattress. What do you think of that, Andrew?
Oh, bloody amazing.
This is the quiet corner of the room.
And this looks like a very nice couple.
Nonsense.
I thought there was a gap in your bed early when we first got here.
It got cold last night.
Overnight the heavens open and we decide to hang out with Brett for one extra night. The following morning the Lake Buccaneer is looking a little bit tail heavy.
It looks like it might be rained in here. And unfortunately, Errol's plane has filled up with water last night and just draining it out now. I'm just going to check it out.
On inspection it has sunk and sitting on the sandbank with a considerable amount of water inside the plane. We were very lucky that the water level didn't get into any of the electronics and was able to be drained and refloated. Dodged a bullet here.
Sorry?
The following day the weather forecast is a little bit better, still overcast with scattered showers, but good enough to fly.
Morning, David.
First officer, how are you?
Good. Getting it all packed up.
Yeah, we're getting it all packed up. We're off to Walliga Lake and Walliga Lakes, I should say.
Yep.
So long as the weather's good, we'll do a landing there. If not, we'll be down to Maroonbula to fill up, and then off to Lakes Entrance for the day, and staying at Lakes Entrance this evening. And just putting the GoPro cameras on and getting everything sorted out. Last final checks before we take off. Weather here isn't what I'd say 10 out of 10, but it's not too bad for a takeoff, and we'll get up in the air and see what it's like as we travel along.
Carry on, number one.
Thank you.
Quick pre-flight, mate, and then we're away.
Right on. What about you, number two, wingman?
The bungs are in. We're going to stay afloat.
Your bungs are in.
The bung.
Got a bit of diarrhea, have you?
Alright.
All good. Team's down the hill.
You good? Good here.
How cool is that?
Clear prop!
Stand by, should pay attention going into the water here, Dave.
Lake Conjola is controlled airspace. A quick phone call to the tower at Nowra and we get a clearance to take off. I have always found it a really weird feeling driving a perfectly good plane into the water. As soon as we're airborne, we're able to contact the tower by radio and they give us a clearance to track south out of controlled airspace.
Andrew, have you got a copy?
Before you know it, we have arrived at Maroonbula.
Oh, greaser. Greaser.
Another gorgeous town on the coast with stunning waterways, just enough time to refuel the stomach and the aircraft before heading off to our overnight stop at Lakes Entrance.
Yeah.
But I guess all you got to do doing this round Australia stuff is keep Australia on the right, yeah?
Yes, mate. We've heard that before.
Yeah.
It's got a biplane, but it's amphibious.
I got this lady's top on. She gave it to me because my top's so wet. It was raining on us.
I'm glad you haven't got that on tape. Because, you know, I'd love to see you explaining that little bit to Cheryl.
For quite a while there, Errol.
Yeah.
We had to stay low and try and find somewhere, but we couldn't. Gliding along the ridge there.
We are met by the airfield owner Clem Smith, on his trike wielding a double-barrel shotgun, which he uses to scare off birds attacking his walnut trees. After a brief discussion on how to hitchhike, we end up catching a taxi into town.
Yeah, no, but in South Africa you used to hitch with the fun, you know?
Oh, no.
But I've never seen it done.
Oh, you're not going to hitch like this.
Well, you know, yeah.
Lakes Entrance, with its beautiful waterways and stunning views, is a place I would love to spend more time. But our choice of a 3-star hotel, which was really only a 2-star hotel, was not our best accommodation pick.
He's burned the toast, Dougie.
That was that raisin toast. It wasn't me. It was David.
Ah.
Here, look, one piece of burnt raisin toast.
A quick taxi into town for some fuel and we're ready to push off again.
Another job to be done. David's checking the runway for any big lumps and potholes. Gives him a bit of exercise too.
Where are we, Doug?
Lakes Entrance, the grass field as opposed to the bitumen field, which is called something else.
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes. So
And what are we doing today?
we're going to go fly to Tassie via Flinders Island. The two Sea Rays are going to stop over at Flinders Island because they don't have the range of the other two.
You've got a half a kilo of maps in there.
Oh, no.
Actually, you've probably got a kilo, 2 kilos of maps.
Doesn't matter. I like maps.
Maps are good.
You can spin them around, please yourself with them, and they're not going to overheat and fail.
Lots of storage way back there. Only if Andrew was big enough to get down to the back.
Yeah, a bit round in the girth, mate.
This is your captain speaking. Loud and clear. You all good, mate?
Yes, mate.
Let's do some damage. Our short field takeoff. Ready? Yep.
We follow the coastline as long as possible before turning left to head over Bass Strait. It's certainly daunting when flying over water when land is nowhere in sight. It's certainly a relief to see Flinders Island and then soon the Tasmanian coastline. At this stage we were able to end our 20-minute regular contact with air traffic control, as this is the practice when crossing Bass Strait. Tassie is not noted for its balmy weather, and I'm soon clambering for socks and a warm jacket. We all arrive at Georgetown and line the planes up for refuelling.
Welcome to Georgetown.
Yeah, welcome to Georgetown. The cars, we got a few planes lined up for a drink.
And it's locked me out.
Oh well, could be worse. Could have been something wrong with the aeroplane.
No, and Errol's thing's gone flat.
Oh.
So we're having fun here at the moment.
I'm just looking for my wallet to get some fuel.
Oh, that'll be the one I used last night to get the vlog.
A short flight from Georgetown along the northern coastline of Tasmania, and we find ourselves at our overnight stop at Wynyard.
I'll tell him that we're the flying fish travelling around Australia and that he can't do that.
On our first episode, we discover that Marty has a talent with the guitar. So in Wynyard, we track down a guitar at the local pawn shop.
So can he really play?
Unfortunately, Marty wasn't happy with this one.
Woke up this morning in Wynyard Town. Last night we were in a restaurant. Got some drinks down. Some had more than another, but we're all like a brother. Now it's time to say goodbye to all Wynyard Town. I've got the leaving Wynyard blues. Bye-bye, Wynyard.
Going.
You good to go, Andrew?
Yeah.
Well, I'm good to go, but I'm happy to have a cup of tea if that's what the
Yeah.
general consensus is.
Yeah, I'll see what the general consensus is.
Well, not in too much of a rush, are we?
He's not a tea or coffee drinker.
No, well, that's right. It's,
He just wants to get going. What's the hazard of drinking too much tea and
I'll
coffee?
wee in 5 minutes.
The flying fish ready to go?
No.
You might hear me mention flying fish a couple of times, which is what I wanted to call the group. However, it was not popular with everyone. So, until we decide on a better name, Flying Fish is going to stick for the time being.
You've got to turn the prop a bit faster than that to start it, Doug.
The weather is looking good, and after some scenic flying along the coastline of Tasmania, we are at our next stop halfway across Bass Strait at King Island, where we quickly organise a hire car for a couple of hours.
Yeah, just as you come into Curry, this is the main.
You're right with this thing, mate. It hasn't got wings.
Yeah. Well, it feels funny driving something on one axis. I heard a story once that a pilot was driving home late at night after a long stint and a kangaroo jumped out in front of him and he actually pulled the steering wheel off the car.
One of our sponsors is Seaplane, so we thought it would be rude if we didn't go and check out where they harvest and produce the raw product for this wonderful liquid fertiliser.
About 40 harvesters working. Yep. They all work for themselves and they deliver the kelp.
So it actually washes up on the beach and you just pick it up?
Yeah, So we're not taking anything with it out of the ocean, it's just all a natural cycle for it to wash up.
What does most of it get used for? Is it just fertilisers and stuff like that? Or
We send about 70% off to Norway, goes to the alginate industry.
Yep.
And they extract the alginates from the brown seaweeds. By blending different types of seaweed, they get different properties in the alginates at the end of it. So it's quite an interesting process to get gel strengths and grades for different additives. And then we take it inside for further drying, and we just grind it up.
just grind it up into a powder?
Yeah, into granules.
And the sea salt stuff that they use for a fertiliser?
Yep.
Is that a large part of your business here? Or
Sea salt have been customers for ours for coming on to 40 years now. Back in the 70s, and we've been supplying them with seaweed regularly all that time.
So it seems to be a really good product. I've used it at home. It does turn things green, which is stuff that I normally try to grow turns brown, but this sea salt stuff does seem to give it a bit of a kick along.
It seems to be a pretty good product, and there's a lot of properties in seaweed that I think are still left undiscovered. Yes. It certainly promotes root growth and healthy plant life.
Absolutely. Does it taste any good? Salty?
It's tough. The king of the sea rays.
Back on the road again, our next stop is the famous King Island cheese factory.
Right, see, that's going to make for boring bloody viewing. Just makes the profile of David as we're going through the countryside.
It's fun. Oh, listen here, flying fish.
Large Morenos.
No, it's closed on Tuesdays.
Imagine that for timing.
We've got them for purchasing out of these two fridges, and there's also a sheet at the end that you can tick which ones you like. And we've also got a 15-minute video if you'd like to watch that. It's just a little bit about the dairy and the story of the dairy.
We get to watch an interesting video on King Island and the history behind the cheese factory. Soon we're let free in the tasting room. We're just like kids in a lolly shop.
What's that one you got there, mate?
It tastes like bacon, mate. That's why I like it more.
Also tasty, also delicious.
Top of the waza.
Well, that was a whistle-stop tour of King Island. Very, very rapidly, 2 hours. Landing, airport formalities, pump in the bilge, cheese factory, lunch in the bakery, kelp factory, airport. Japanese style.
Our next destination over Bass Strait is Barwon Heads. Barwon Heads is where we catch up with Vaughan Moncur, who is joining us in his two-seat amphibian Super Petrel. On arrival, Doug has a close call by getting distracted and forgetting to lower his landing gear. Both Errol and myself see what's happening and contact Doug on the radio, and luckily disaster is avoided.
Did you get Doug coming in no wheels?
Yes.
That was scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I might, from now on, follow a lot further behind.
Yeah. Well, mate, it's a learning curve. And no harm done.
The landing was pretty crap.
Rough landing, Doug. We didn't notice it.
Bloody hell, that's hard.
Yeah.
Everything's hard down here, isn't it?
Hammering like a man possessed, Dougie.
Get rid of all that adrenaline.
Yeah. Must be Vaughan.
Hello.
Marty, good to meet you.
Hello, Marty.
Hello,
nice
mate.
to meet you too.
Yeah,
Looking
how you
forward
doing?
to it.
Yeah.
Hello, Vaughan.
Hello, Davo. There you are.
Mate.
You look just the same.
You look
The
a
group
couple of
now
years older.
becomes 5 aircraft travelling on this epic flight around Australia.
So a bit of flight planning is going on here. Errol, that's very good. Reading the weather forecast. Marty's
Flight planning and expenses and brain
Expenses.
surgery.
and the flight log, captain's log.
Captain's log.
Here we go, the boys are
Working out the features of Oz runways.
Okay, professional camera crew checking the battery levels in the camera.
and we're off to Point Cook. Can't wait.
From Bowen Heads, it's only a 20-minute scenic flight around Port Phillip Bay to Point Cook. After landing at the military airbase, we are welcomed by 2 Army security. These guys were very helpful, but kept a close eye on us. Sarah and her mum arrive for Sarah's Make-A-Wish flight. We soon realised that it's not only the kids that get a great thrill from these flights, but what stood out is how the parents enjoyed seeing the kids having fun again. This was very rewarding for us. We're soon airborne with Sarah for a joy flight around Port Phillip Bay with a touch and go on the water. Great fun.
Thank you so much. That was awesome.
It's pretty cool, eh?
Yes.
Oh well, Mum's going to have to sign her up for flying lessons now.
Errol's grown an extra pair of legs. You've got your uses, Errol.
With Sarah safely returned to her mum, we head off for a tour of the Airbase Museum.
Here we can see the animals from the seaplane mob safely caged.
Checking out mosquitoes.
Yeah, geez, the bodies are bad here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that probably weighs as much as our planes do maximum takeoff weight.
Yeah.
It was, I think, a similar type of aircraft would have been on the battleship Australia, light cruiser Australia.
Yep.
We leave Point Cook after a fascinating look at the museum and track along the Victorian coastline past the spectacular 12 Apostles. It's a shame the weather wasn't on our side today. We all arrive safely at Robe Airport except for Doug. What's happened to Doug?
Sierra Echo Yankee X-ray Whiskey Whiskey, do you copy?
I said I could organise a car to go to the end of the runway. How far away is he?
I don't know, I can't raise him on the radio at the moment.
Right, well I'll give it another 5 minutes until it's really getting seriously dark and then I'll get a car to go down.
Sierra Echo Yankee X-ray Whiskey Whiskey, you copy?
If he's down, he might not get radio coverage, but we might get him on the phone.
Sierra Echo Yankee X-ray Whiskey Whiskey, do you copy?
In the next edition we find out what's happened to Dougie. We continue exploring the South Australian coastline and Kangaroo Island, then head across the Nullarbor into Western Australia, from camping to 5-star accommodation. Look forward to your company in the next edition of Australian Seaplane Adventures.